Well, hello everybody. Welcome back once again to JJ's PC Builds. You know it is JJ with you once again. Okay, today we're going to talk about a little story that broke out on my cell phone. Believe it or not, I got it to where I can see all the articles about PCs and everything else that comes out. But it seems that WccfTech, good by the way, really good. Make sure you check them out. Broke an article yesterday, and I know I was kind of busy yesterday, and I do apologize not getting out a video yesterday, but they broke out an article yesterday, and we're going to bring it into the light today, so stay with me. Micro Center, your one-stop shop for your PC parts. Make sure you visit Micro Center today. Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive into it, jump into that action screen and see what's cooking. We're here at the action screen, WccfTech, and I got the big booty cursor for y'all right there, WccfTech. Shout out to you for the article, and it's much appreciated. All the hard work over there, make sure y'all give them some positive likes as well. Okay, it says alleged AMD Ryzen 9950X 16 core Zen 5 CPU benchmarked in Ada 64 with DDR5 8000 memory up to 45% faster than the 7950X. Reading this right here kind of makes me think, oop, my bad people, makes me think, what kind of motherboard were they using? Were they using the 600 series or were they using the new 800 series? That's going to be a good question about this. But anyway, let's move on. AMD's flagship Ryzen 9950X CPU with 16 core Zen 5 cores has allegedly been tested Ada 64 benchmark by a user at Anatech forums. Oh my God. So we don't really know. No, let's not get into that. We'll discuss everything at the end of the video. So we're just going to keep going on and you'll see. So allegedly the benchmarks come from Anatech forum member Igor Kadvinsky. Hopefully I said that right. Who reportedly got the test results from someone who had an early access engineering sample of the AMD Ryzen 9950X. User was running the chip on an AM5 motherboard. Okay, well, like I said, that really helps us. With DDR5 8000 memory, well, we got to think about it. They haven't put out the 9000. They haven't put out the 800 series motherboards yet because they're still in production. So they would have had, and common sense would have told me that they had to use a 600 motherboard since they don't have a 700 motherboard for AMD. So that was operating with CL34-45-40-42 timings. Okay, that helps. The AMD Ryzen 9950X CPU, they give you the number. I'm not going to say the number. It's just crazy. But anyway, is the flagship offering with two Zen 5 CCDs. Zen 5 CCDs. That's kind of misleading a little bit. I'm not saying it's misleading, but to me, if it's Zen 5, it should have said with how many CCDs it was. It doesn't say. And a single IOD. Okay. The CPU offers 16 cores, 32 threads, base clock of 4.3 gigahertz, and max boost clock up to 5.7 gigahertz. Comes with 80 megabytes of cache, 64 megs of L3, 16 megs of L2. Guys, I'll give my thoughts at the end. We'll keep them going right to the end. So make sure you stick around and make sure you subscribe, by the way, and put a like in the video. And has a TDP of 170 watts. Well, we know this. Now, in terms of clock speed, while the boost clock is identical to the Ryzen 9 9950X, the base clock is slightly dialed down by 200 megahertz. Oh, but we can expect a lot of efficiency coming out of this flagship product, especially in the terms of multi-thread performance. Them dialing down the base clock speed is nothing new. Okay, mine runs at a 3.4 gigahertz base clock. So 4.3 gigahertz at a base clock, you can change the base clock. There is a way. If it's an unlocked processor, you basically can change the base clock and move it up a little bit higher. So that's if you decide you want to do that. Or, I would just keep it at 4 gigahertz, truthfully. So here comes the ADA64 benchmarks. They go the Ryzen 9950X. That has an AES megabyte of 746,991 points. Now, the FP32 K-Ray has 110,444. Now, the FP64 has 59,582. Okay, so they added a FP64, the K-Ray. Usually they come with the FP32, but this is something new that I'm seeing right here in FP64. Okay, so now looking at the Ryzen 9 7950X has a score of 380,473. That's the AES. The FP32 is 63,132, and the FP64 is 33,612. Now you go to your i9 13900K, okay, 13th gen. It has a score of AES 294,509. The FP32 K-Ray is 34,969, and the FP64 is 19,006. No, yeah, it's 19,060, sorry. So, it looks like the 9950X has got a little bit more as far as score, which they say higher is better. But this doesn't equal to gaming, what you would actually see in gaming. So without having any gaming score, benchmarks, it's kind of hard to say if it's going to be like they say up here, 45% faster. It's kind of hard to say that it's going to be up to 45% faster. In this benchmark, yes, they could say that. Okay, now let's move down to the bottom and see whatever they have. Oh, they got the actual benchmark right here. I'll leave the link in the description below to this article, so that way you guys can go through it, and let's move on. As for performance, the AMD 9950X CPU was benchmarked with ADA64 across 3 tests, which includes AES, FP32, and FP64 workloads. Now that's going to be interesting. Now, what kind of workload was it? Was it a business workload, creator workload, video workload, or is it just one of those benchmarks that everybody says synthetic benchmarks? So usually if they say, and this is what a lot of people say, if it's a synthetic benchmark, take it with a grain of salt. So breakfast, by the way, breakfast. Yeah, it comes in a bottle. The benchmark already includes the performance numbers for the 9950X, the 13900K, so it's easily showcased overall CPU improvements across 3 workloads, and they did a quite superb job. So they're saying the test is the 7950X got at a baseline. I don't know how they're looking at this baseline. They're doing the plus. They're probably looking at the 9950X as being, I hope not, because if that's the case, if it's, they're looking at the 9950X being the 100% mark, and then it's getting plus 45, plus 39, plus 39, that's kind of going to make the 9950X look bad. This is kind of making the 9950X look bad. Or they're saying that compared to the 7950X, the 9950X got plus 45, plus 39, plus 39, and then 13900K, the ES was plus 55, plus 60, plus 60, and then on the 7975WX, that's Threadripper, was a plus 11, but FP32 was a negative 13, and FP64 was a negative 16. So if they were looking at it like that, that would probably make more sense. So compared to 9950X, this is what the 9950X scores are going to be. So while the benchmark itself showcased almost 2 times performance gains in these aspects, the actual performance of the chip may not showcase similar gains since the application and workloads aren't based entirely on such instructions. So like I said, you can take it with gold or a grain of salt. Use multiple different parts of the chip. These are also the floating point figures, so we can see a different story in the integer performance test. But one thing for sure, Zen 5 does offer a significant gain through its brand new architecture, and we can't wait to see more of it in action when the product launches next month. But I'm looking at this right here, this little benchmark test they got. It's showing, and this is an engineer sample. Okay, it's not going to be perfect. The final one, I hope it's going to be perfect. I don't know why they covered up that number. That's kind of suspicious right there. But, so, moving on. Another benchmark where a chip was tested is Linux, where the chip score was 1657 G-flops, which tuned to DDR5 memory 6400 MT 26-36-32-30. These are early performance numbers based on engineering samples. So the final chips may offer even better results in the same workloads. Okay, so let's go back to the main screen. We'll save that article. There we go. Okay, final thought. Here it is. Now, in the article, it kind of, and WccfTech, you did a great job on it, and I do appreciate it. But there's a couple things that you should have did, and one of it was saying, you know, if when it comes to the three that you put the plus marks on and stuff, that was a little bit confusing. So hopefully there's a little bit more clarity that comes up with that. If you guys get, watch my video, if there's a little bit of clarity, then you should have put at top, the 9950X, and then down below put the 7950X, the i9 13900K and stuff like that below that. And this is the difference that you're trying to say between the 9950X and all three of the processors that were tested. It just, when you put it like that, and it didn't lead me to that. It didn't lead me to the point of believing that with all three of those benchmarks from three of those processors, it didn't lead me to the horse. It didn't lead the horse to the water. I'm saying, but I'm sure you'll fix that in time and make that more comprehensive. For you got to understand, when it comes to The consumer, there's not a lot of consumers out there is really going to understand how those benchmarks work. And then they're going to look at it and they're going to be like, what is this? I don't even understand what this means. Is it good or bad? That's all they want to know. Is it good or bad? You know, you're showing saying that it's 45% faster. Well, you're trying to compare the 7950X to the 9950X. Okay, so that's fine. It's a good comparison. It is a good comparison, even though that they might look like they come out to be the same. But what's going to be the real comparison is the price. Now, that's really going to have everybody up in the air, is because if AMD uses the same price as they did on the 7950X, or they increase it by $100, people are not, some will buy it and some won't. You're trying to save 45% faster, but that's not in gaming. That's in workloads. That's in computational workloads. That's not into gaming workloads. So people are going to be kind of a little bit skeptical about that. I mean, if you're going to look at it, you're going to compare the last gen to that new gen. You got to wait until the processor comes out. We'll see when the CPU processor comes out. Everybody gets their hands on it. Everybody tests it. And everybody comes up with their results in game. Because that's what everybody's looking for in game. And also, too, I'm looking to see what it's going to look like for creator work as well. They always said that the X3D wasn't really that great for creator work. So that's the reason why I stuck with the X series platforms, is because they give more robust, handling to the amount of workload that I put onto it when I'm editing videos and stuff like that. So pretty much that the processor hangs in there quite a lot. But it's more to come and more to see and more to do. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical on the 45% gain, for the reason of the fact of it wasn't tested with any games or against any decent known processors. I mean, if you're really going to test it, I would have put it against the 14900K. If you're really trying to test the measurements, because that right there, everybody's been putting the 14900K against the 7950X. Or no, they put it against the 7950X, and they put it against the 7800X3D. So the thing is this: you didn't even add in the 7800X3D into the workload. Why is that? So that's the reason why I'm saying I'm a little skeptical, because there's many processors out there they could have really tested it against. They could have tested it against the AM4 5950X. They could have done that. They could have tested it against the 5800X3D. They didn't do that. They could have tested it against a 7700X. They didn't do that. They could have tested this sample, since it's not 100%, against any one of those processors. But they used 8 of 64. God knows why. But that's their testing, and I'm just going to say, if it is 45% faster when it comes to game time, and they test the games and it shows that it's 45% faster, then guess what? It's going to be a hell of a processor, but it's going to have a hell of a price. That's my thought on that, and I want to hear your thoughts too down in the comments below. So just remember, leaks aren't 100% accurate. Some people can say it's done this, and some people could say that they got their hands on this and done this. Until you see the actual benchmark of that processor, just take it with a grain of salt. But it does give you a good outlook on what's going to be coming up next. So it's all about the hype. So if you want to be a part of the hype and you made it to the end of the video, then subscribe. Put a like on the video, this one here, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that way you know when I post the next video. So until the next time and the next video, you know what it is, and we'll see you on the next one.